All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking about real music in real time for a few real people out there just like you and me. So, sad news in the music world today as another great one has passed over to the other side. We're talking about Sergio Mendes. He was 83 years old. He was known for a bossa nova flavor, especially if you go back to his earlier work, hanging out with guys like Herb Alpert and many others. I mean, this guy attracted great musicians, people like Nathan East, worked with Sergio, basically a who's who of great musicians used to hang out with Sergio. Um, for a reference point, some of you may remember the song Never Gonna Let You Go. That was a ginormous song from the 1980s and still gets a lot of airplay on your favorite adult contemporary station. The details, pretty basic here, but there is one little thing here that I wanted to focus on. So, Sergio Mendes, a singer and composer who helped popularize the bossa nova music of his native Brazil, died on Thursday in Los Angeles. Now, the classic rock world is not talking about Sergio Mendes, even though his music in some ways is very classic rock. But because, he strayed into the adult contemporary sound, that makes him someone that they're not going to talk about. So you'll find this on websites where they're just reporting straight up news and they're not, trying to hinder the information about Sergio because they're not invested in a certain genre. Sergio was 83 years old. His wife and musical partner of the last 54 years, Gracina Laporese Mendes, was by his side, as were his loving children, according to the family statement. They added that he had recently been struggling with the long-term effects of COVID. Now, they added a word to this, which I don't often see. Now it's long-term. It's not just long, it's long-term. So that's longer than just long. Long would just be maybe a few months, but long-term sounds like it just keeps on going. So I'm wondering, could this be long-term triple VAXXX? I don't know. I was going to say VA triple X. It didn't work out. Anyway, Mendes was a 3-time Grammy winner and a 2012 Oscar nominee for his song Real in Rio, which was a collaboration with John Legend. His collaborations, of course, date back to the 60s. I'm thinking of Herb Alpert and a whole bunch of other people that he worked with. That was a different era, a different sound. The music sounds so natural and warm and vibrant from that time frame that you've got to wonder how music just changed so radically in such a short period of time. I collect albums now that have that style of music. I don't have any Sergio albums, but if I see one, I'm going to go grab it. I already knew how great this guy was, but a lot of people have forgotten about him. And, I'm not going to talk too much about the fact that we continue to see things in the news that just raise questions. So, is there no treatment for the long-term COVID? Now, I know he was 83 years old, so nobody's really going to give this a second thought. And I haven't spoken about this too much, but there should be a way to treat this. Now, the media keeps reporting that this does all kinds of permanent damage, irreversible damage. And if that's true, then shouldn't we be working on a way to reverse that? And if it's not the actual COVID, then is it the thing that we administered to help people with the COVID? And of course, nobody's ever going to admit that that's the problem. Nope. And pretty much everything now goes into this category, right? It's definitely got to be long-term COVID. Before it was just long, Then it was just regular. Um, and of course, you have to wait until the next concoction, the next potion is released. And what's always interesting to me is how they know in advance how to make something for something that hasn't actually formed yet. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like a car driving down the road. You don't know where that car is going to go. You can predict where it might go, but that car may decide to go a different direction. You know, it's like there's somebody driving the car, but just say something is moving, like a bird is flying, and you know exactly where that bird's going to land. And these people seem to know how these things, mutate and morph, and then they can predict when the next one is going to mutate and which direction it's going to mutate in. That's astounding. I mean, these people should do astrology. If they can do that, if they can predict that and develop a product to stop that before it gets to that point, I mean, that's genius. It's amazing. But apparently, it didn't help Sergio. So our thoughts and prayers go out to Sergio and his family and his fans, which I'm pretty much are certain are just all over the world and understand what a big deal Sergio Mendes was. Thanks for watching this channel. If you can support me, Patreon, YouTube memberships, buy me a coffee. I'm definitely in a bad vortex right now as the algorithm is going in the opposite direction. And it was right after I started doing some, overt videos about a certain presidential candidate who I believe is better than another presidential candidate who is running. And I'm going to still talk about politics. So that might be the way forward a lot of times when there's not that much to talk about. Nobody wanted to hear about David Gilmour. So Sergio Mendes, very big deal. And anyway, folks, thanks for watching the channel, and I will see you soon.